Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode 252 on this 4th of July long weekend. Not sure how you're spending time this Independence Day holiday. You could be listening to this while on a road trip right now, which is cool. Regardless, I hope you're enjoying yourself this long weekend. Hey, we have a stellar show planned for you this hour, so I'll tell you what's on tap. We're going to kick things off in a moment with JLab to hear what's new from them, including tech that won't break the bank. After that, we'll continue last weekend's chat about the Vetster app for pet owners when we speak with a veterinarian about summer safety tips for dogs and cats. Also on the show, why you should get rid of those old smartphones that are perhaps collecting dust in your drawers. And I'll share some great summer tech ideas as well near the end of this week's show. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out, powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. I'll tell you more about ASUS shortly, but let's officially kick off this week's Tech It Out with our first interview. You've probably heard of, or perhaps own a pair of, JLab headphones, but the company is expanding its product lineup outside of audio for the first time this summer, as you'll now hear with Cramer, CEO of JLab. Hi, Win. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you're outside of Yellowstone Park wearing a pair of JLab earbuds, if I'm not mistaken. So
I am.
It sounds great.
It's a beautiful view today.
And you look very cool, yeah, where you're hanging out in the middle of nowhere, it seems. Thanks for joining us. Now, before we talk about what's new, please tell us about JLab as a company and what the brand is all about.
Sure. JLab was founded in 2005, really as an Amazon brand. As Amazon started to grow and gain traction, so did JLab. We came up with a line of entry-level earbuds at the time. We really started growing our market share on that platform. But I would call it more of a kind of a hobby business until around 2011 when we started to get a little more serious about the future of the company and the brand. I mean, we kind of had this cult following on Amazon that people really trusted what we did. We treated customers right. If they had a problem, they got a new pair of earbuds. And really, we built this business by designing products that are usually make a purpose better. So be it fitness, be it work, be it general lifestyle. We believe that products should have a purpose and that they should offer surprising value to the customer. Mm-hmm. You know, I was never growing up, I never had the opportunity to afford a pair of $299 Beats headphones, but I knew we could make a very similar style of product and offer that same value at a price point that was much more affordable. And the brand has really developed and grown in that spirit over the past 15, 16 years.
Yeah, congrats for sure. And so I know when I think of JLab, I think earbuds, but the company does make other kinds of headphones as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think our claim to fame is certainly earbuds or affordable true wireless earbuds. But truth be told, back in the day, we got our first shot at U.S. national retail with a line of kids' headphones. Kids' headphones, they were actually developed around, at the time, my 6-year-old's daughter's head, and she could never find a pair of headphones that fit her. And the problem with headphones back in the day, or it was kids' headphones back in the day, is they were adult headphones painted pink with a Disney sticker. and they didn't fit. They didn't do anything. So we developed a smaller headphone, and we put volume limiting inside of it so we could protect growing eardrums. And the rest is history. We really developed a line of headphones to support that. And then adults wanted headphones to complement our kids' headphones, and off we went.
Great. And again, with an affordable price is important to parents because kids can often lose or break the headphones. So going back to the bang for your buck angle means a lot to me. So talk to us now about your new peripherals designed to improve hybrid work environments, the new trend these days of working maybe partially in the office and partially at home or all at home. Let's start with the work collection.
Yeah, the work collection was really born during the first lockdown of COVID. I spent a lot of time focusing on what was right and what was wrong with computer peripherals. And it shocked me as I went to build out my home office, which I'd never really done because I was one of the guys that was always at the office every day. Mm-hmm. But as I went to build out my home office, I was buying the same stuff that I would use at work. And when I bought it, I recognized that nothing had changed, meaning everything I'm buying was still 10, 12, 13 years old from a design perspective. I mean, even to the point that the branding on the keyboard itself was supporting Windows XP, which was a 15-year-old OS at the time.
Yeah.
So none of the quick keys worked. None of them did anything because they were supporting this OS that was ancient. So I sat down and I thought, why don't we actually develop something that supports the new age, the new customer, and give them tools to make themselves more productive? As I got into it, I realized like there's a ton of gaming keyboards and a ton of gaming mice and all of this stuff that really makes your gaming experience better. There was nothing to make your work or your productivity experience better. And that's what we tried to do with our line of work products, from keyboards and mice to cameras to headphones and everything in between, really building tools that are affordable, that also make your day better and more productive. And I think we've crushed it with our work line of products.
Again, you're now venturing into non-audio based products for the first time, mice, keyboards, and webcams. So this is obviously quite a departure. Has this been sort of percolating for a while, or you just decided to pull the trigger on this 2022?
Pre-JLab for me, I was in a computer peripheral business, so I had experience there. But I kind of put that on the sidelines when we started really to grow JLab. So certainly it was always marinating, but COVID, it really started to bubble up into the service and gave us an opportunity, we thought, to really capture some market.
Awesome. We're chatting with Cramer, CEO of JLab, a company whose mission is to enhance an active lifestyle through incredible sound, inspired design, and innovative technology without the rock star price. And now the company is venturing into other computer peripherals for the first time, including mice, keyboards, and webcams. Let's now chat about your more affordable tier in this new collection called Go, I believe.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in a good, better, best philosophy. The Go is JLab's good, JBuds is JLab's better, and Epic is our best product line. The Go, the entry-level product line, is far from entry-level. Our keyboard, as an example, is a real tight form factor, powered by AAA batteries that can last 6 to 8 to 9 months, depending on how often you use the keyboard. But we're offering some really cool tech in this product that at the price point, it's a $20 keyboard, mind you, that doesn't exist. The ability to have multi-connection. So we ship this with a 2.4 gigahertz dongle that you would be very accustomed to if you already own a wireless keyboard. However, this keyboard also has 2 additional Bluetooth connection options. So I can flip between my computer, my iPad, even my phone to use this keyboard on the fly. You just push up a button and go back and forth. It's seamless. It's super easy to use. The phrase I always use internally is Marty proof. Marty is my mom and she cannot make anything work. So she's my guinea pig for all this stuff. If she can make it work, I know we're onto something.
Well, like you said, like this whole hybrid work thing, like you may be going to a Starbucks with your phone or your iPad, and now you can have a keyboard with it. So you can respond to those lengthy emails and, write, comprehensive notes and all that as if it was a laptop, but without all that bulk.
100%. Yeah. 100% for $20.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the value there is tremendous. It's designed for today's user, not yesterday's user. Just a super convenient, affordable, attractive package. It's designed for you.
And that's called the Go, or the entry level, the good, better, best. It's the good. And then you said JBuds and Epic were the sort of higher end models. What would those features look like when it comes to keyboards and mice and webcams compared to the Go line?
Yeah, as you work up the stack, so if we'll go to JBuds keyboard as an example, it switches to a lithium-ion rechargeable battery versus replaceable AAAs. We add a 10 key to the product itself, so if you're a numbers person, you now have the option to use that 10 key on the right-hand side. And then we offer our customizable software applications, both PC and Mac, that gives you the ability to fully customize your product. So if you're a heavy Excel user, you can make all of the quick keys support your Excel mission. But you could be a Photoshop guy or gal, and you can change all of those keys to then support your Photoshop experience. And as you step up to the Epic line of goods, it's really form and finish. It's a nice CNC'd aluminum look, just a beautiful heavy keyboard that just accentuates the appeal of the desk and the environment that it's in. Just a beautiful product with all of the features that I mentioned before, the multi-point stuff, the rechargeable battery, customizable keyboards. It's just a really, really cool product as you step up.
And for pricing, you hinted at the Go, what the Go keyboard is at, just $20. And for the pricing for JBuds and the Epic collections, I'm assuming your website has it all, and photos and maybe even videos of the products in action?
Yeah, JLab.com has whole kit and caboodle with products, features, and specs, and pricing. But I would argue that Everything you see on our website is so affordable as you compare to the competition. And we put some cool charts in there just kind of to educate the consumer.
Sure.
We know we have to earn our spot in this space, and personal technology is hard. You're comfortable with what you use. It's very similar to shoes, Mark. If you're comfortable wearing Nikes, you're going to have a hard time to be pushed to Adidas. And I know this, I appreciate it. So we're trying to communicate and educate customers. Hey, this is why we think we're better. Give us a shot and let us know if we are.
Awesome win. Well, congrats on expanding your line of products. Thanks for carving out some time to chat with us today. All the best.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, I wanted to thank Tech It Out listeners for your nice emails tied to the 250th milestone episode of the show and podcast. If you're on social media, drop by and say hi this long weekend. Let me know what you're up to. If you have any tech questions, suggestions for upcoming topics or guests, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It's Mark Saltzman, MarkSaltzman. I also write a tech tip of the day. I link to articles that I write, videos that I host, and we have giveaways and things like that as well. This show, Tech It Out, is powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, and that includes its line of award-winning laptops. You should tech it out at asus.com/US/radio. That's ASUS.com/US/radio. When we return on Tech It Out, if you're a pet owner, you're going to want to hear all about the Vetster app. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. Did you know that in a recent Hilton survey, 55% of pet owners said they're planning on traveling with their dog or cat or other kind of pet this summer? For some pet safety tips tied to the summer, including suggestions for travelers, we're joined by Dr. Sarah Machell. She is the medical director at Vetster, which we'll also learn about more today to continue last week's discussion about the app and website. Thank you, Dr. Machell. Good to chat with you.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Great. Now, before we talk about Vetster, please tell us a bit about your work.
So I am a veterinarian by training. I was a clinical practicing full-time veterinarian for about 22 years. I owned a small animal practice just outside of Toronto for 18 of those. I've always been particularly interested in tech and in business. And as a veterinarian and a practitioner and a practice owner, I've also been really fascinated about work-life balance and quality of life for veterinarians in the profession, as well as noting the ongoing challenges for pets across the globe, really, in terms of accessing qualified medical care. So I share all of that because my actual job, my role with Vetster, I wear lots of different hats. So my primary role, as my title sort of depicts, is that I really help support the veterinary practice within our software platform. I provide everything from product guidance to regulatory oversight, connections and communications and marketing opportunities and education opportunities with our veterinarians on the platform. And then I also support our internal veterinary teams. So I have a lot going on.
That's a lot of hats. You were right.
Yeah. But I love it. Yeah, thanks.
Great. So medical director at Vetster, we are going to learn more about the platform and how it doesn't just help pet owners, but also veterinarians make some extra cash. So we'll talk about that momentarily. But with the summer here, why don't we start off with some tips to keeping pets safe? And there doesn't need to be a tech angle, by the way. We would love to hear your advice for all the pet owners out there listening on how to better keep our loved ones safe, our best friends, our furry best friends safe this summer.
Thank you for that question. I think it's super important and topical, obviously, with the weather of late. And it's something that, a lot of us may not always have top of mind in terms of heat safety and weather precautions for our pets. But certainly in the warm months, there are several things that a pet owner wants to be considering when it comes to exercising your pet outdoors, even travel with your pet in the heat and how that might be different than other times of the year. And so certainly when it comes to exercising your pet outdoors or having them in an outside environment, it's really important if we speak to with dogs, particularly, that pet owners are cognizant of their pets, current exercise levels and cardiovascular fitness, as well as their breed and general exercise tolerance levels. So when it's really warm, it's important we pay attention to both the temperature and the humidity. And if we're going to exercise our pets, doing so in the cooler times of day, avoiding strenuous activity in areas where there's no shade. And of course, always ensuring that we have access to water and rest for our pets to remain hydrated.
Great point. Some of those are sort of common sense and others we may not think about. And that also includes having pets in hot cars as well. People who accidentally leave their pets in a car with the windows up. So that's another no-brainer. I know that some vehicles can also tell you if there is someone in the backseat, a child or a pet with a little alarm. I welcome how technology can help there.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I wasn't aware of that. That's a great thing because, our lives are busy, and as much as we can try to be proactive, if we're traveling, say, for example, and planning our route is really important. Having little tech reminders like that never, ever hurt. So, because unfortunately accidents do happen, even in the best laid plans.
Speaking of tech, let's now chat about Vetster. We've alluded to it, and I did have its CEO and co-founder, Mark Bordeaux, on the show last week. What is the app and website all about?
We are North America's largest veterinary telehealth platform. And what that means, Mark, is that our platform is a marketplace offering where pet owners can connect with licensed veterinarians within their geography, their local geography, for online veterinary consultations and appointments, right from the convenience of home on your desktop or on your mobile application. Our app works really effectively for live video consultations with veterinarians.
All right. So you need to chat with a vet instead of going to a clinic, or in addition to going to a clinic. When it's something that can be assessed remotely in a home, at an office, or while traveling this summer, you can have a face-to-face virtual chat with a licensed veterinarian via this secure video platform, and then get professional attention for your pet, whether they're there with you or not. You can also, from what I understand, upload photos and videos to help diagnose an issue as well.
That's right. Although the preference for most pet owners and veterinarians is that the pet is present for the call.
Sure.
We know that they're not always as cooperative as we might like.
Probably a lot more cooperative than when you try to pull into a pet clinic and the dog recognizes it and associates it with a negative thing, right? I know I'm talking to a vet, so I'm just, but let's face it, right? All kidding aside, doesn't this mean like less anxiety for pets to do it in this way?
100%. I was chatting actually with a client of mine this morning about a virtual consult with her dog. And she said that her dog is going to be like all in and really happy about this opportunity until they realize that there's no treats in a virtual call. I mean, the opportunity to meet virtually offers many, many conveniences and comfort that are very different than an in-person exam, but they're complementary offerings. A lot veterinarians do support pet owners in is truly about communication. And what a better way to communicate than in a stressful, busy, smelly veterinary hospital rather than from the comfort of home.
We're going to continue chatting about the Vetster platform and the advantages it offers over a traditional vet clinic when we return on Tech It Out. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. If you are a pet owner, chances are you're going to be traveling with your pet this summer, according to a recent Hilton Hotels survey. And so on the line, we're chatting with Dr. Sarah Machell. She is the medical director at Vetster. This is the app and website we've chatted about in the past, where you can chat with a licensed veterinarian over a video chat. So ideal to have with you on the go. Now, before the break, Dr. Machell, you were saying how there's less anxiety for pets. When you pull into a vet clinic, they know where they're going based on experience. That being said, I do recognize there's some things that need to be assessed in person. Obviously, then you need to go somewhere physically with your pet. But when you were saying geographically, you can speak to a nearby vet remotely through this video chatting platform, you live in New York and you want to chat with a vet that specializes in your breed of cat in LA, you can, but I think the challenge is when it comes to medications is that you're supposed to have it dispatched locally from a licensed vet in your state or in your province. Is that sort of the distinction?
That's right, Mark. So the regulatory landscape is actually quite confusing. The ability for a veterinarian to speak to a diagnosis and potentially prescribe from a virtual consult varies dramatically from state to state and province to province. And so from our app, you can search and meet with a veterinarian anywhere within the country. But the advantage of meeting with someone within the state or province where you reside is that if the regulatory situation in that area supports the veterinarian being able to speak to a diagnosis and prescription, it is much more feasible for that pet owner to get the prescription fulfilled.
Got it. Thanks for the clarification. Why is Vetster a good idea to have on your phone while traveling this summer?
Well, as I spoke to at the beginning of our conversation, one of the big challenges for pet owners, particularly when traveling even more, is the access to qualified care. So if you find yourself away from home and away from your regular veterinarian who you may already have a relationship with, using Vetster as having a vet on call on your phone is a super accessible way to ensure that you're connecting with qualified veterinary care, regardless of where you're located.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about how Vetster is good for veterinarians as well? I think you've already hinted at this, but this allows vets to not just practice at a clinic, but outside of it as well, or instead of a clinic.
Yeah, this is, again, one of my favorite questions to speak to. The veterinary profession has not necessarily got a reputation of being something that you can do remotely or practice while on the road. And really, with the evolution of virtual care and platforms like ours, it is really offering an opportunity for many veterinarians to explore different career paths and opportunities that they would never have had to them, even 10 to 15 years ago in the same capacity. So we do struggle as a profession with a high level of stress and burnout. And what I see for opportunities like partnering with us on Vetster is really an olive branch to a lot of folks who are considering leaving the profession as a way to continue to practice without the demands of physical demands and location demands.
Yeah, sure. Rent and and having to keep specific hours, right?
Yeah.
Like what if you want to be able to make some money as a vet between, say, 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. I know there are obviously some pet hospitals open that late, but you could be at home and still help your patients out, your pet patients out. Love it. And let's end off now on how to handle pets during a medical emergency while traveling. What advice could you give us?
Well, I think first and foremost is have the Vetster app downloaded. And, if you're traveling and you have a route that you are planning on doing, it never hurts to do a little bit of upfront kind of noting where ER clinics might be, and even just putting them as a resource for you as well in your trip planning. Yeah,
that's great advice. And then finally, where can we learn more about Vetster?
Well, we believe we have a very catchy name and easy to remember, Vetster.com. We have plenty of really helpful information on our website, lots of blog articles, tons of really engaging stuff as a pet owner. But most importantly, it's really easy to connect with a veterinarian within minutes. And all of these pet parents tell us that they can't imagine living without the Vetster app in their pocket.
Congratulations, Dr. Machell. Great to chat with you.
Yeah, you too, Mark.
Thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed our chat. All the best.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey, don't forget, also on the program, coming up in a few minutes from now, we're going to chat with MCE Systems about repurposing your old smartphones instead of leaving them in a drawer collecting dust, how to make money off of them, and how to go about that. Also, I'm going to chat about some great summer tech ideas for both the indoors and outdoors towards the end of the program. Now, before that, we cover cybersecurity a lot on this program and how you can best protect yourself in the digital age, even when you're not super tech savvy. One part of the solution is securely shopping online. And so I'm thrilled about my partnership with Visa on Tech It Out, as they've made some significant investments in fraud prevention over the past 5 years in particular. How much, you ask? $9 billion. This is to support Visa's brand promise to protect the financial information of both individuals and businesses. Zero liability means peace of mind when you shop online using your Visa card. If there's ever a dispute, they've got your back. There can be no half measures when it comes to cybersecurity, which is why the company takes an aggressive and multi-layered approach to combating the rising threat of malicious software and other threats by, let's face it, well-funded and global criminal enterprises. Read more about Visa and how securing the world's payments is priority one at visa.com/security. That's visa.com/security. Hey, did you know it's the 15th anniversary of the iPhone this week? Yeah, crazy, huh? Quickly followed by Google's Android a year later. You know, these devices really showed how versatile these pocket-sized computers could be, right? I mean, the BlackBerry was, I would say, the first real smartphone, but it focused heavily on mobile communication, like secure messaging and email. But the iPhone really changed the game. I'd say the biggest difference in smartphones then and now is how they've evolved into digital Swiss Army knives, that do it all, with much larger screens in which to consume or create content, powerful processors, and faster wireless connectivity. Now with 5G speeds, the smartphone has replaced the need to use other devices that we did rely on heavily, like cameras and camcorders, GPS navigation units, pedometers, MP3 players, portable gaming systems. Your smartphone has even replaced wallets and keys in many instances. Also, over the past 15 years, we saw an explosion in social media, with our smartphones really serving as the main lifeline to these popular services. Like you, I'm excited to see what the next 15 years brings to smartphone technology. But yep, 15th anniversary of the iPhone this week. When we return on Tech It Out, speaking of smartphones, we'll talk about what to do with your old ones lying around in drawers and how you can put some money in your pocket. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Tech It Out. So the other day I received a press release that said something like this in the subject line: cell phones stuck in drawers cost $50 billion for consumers and phone providers. And so I was intrigued by that, because I do think many listeners have these old smartphones and cell phones in their drawers just sitting there. And so I invited onto the show Dr. Robert Hackl, who joined MCE Systems last September as president of the company that helps manage the life cycle of devices like smartphones. Thank you, Dr. Hackl, for your time. May I call you Robert?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to chatting with you about this. Before we talk about your findings, and I think you've got some really interesting stats about unused phones sitting around, talk to us a bit about MCE Systems. What's the company all about?
Yeah, the MCE system does device lifecycle management for operators to make the moments of truth which matter actually to consumers when they activate a device, service a device, or upgrade, to make them kind of better. How can you think about MC systems in a more simple terms? What Salesforce and Oracle did for consumer CRM, meaning helping consumers to get a next best action when it's really appropriate for them to get like an offer. This is what we do for devices. So once we onboard a consumer, and when normally an operator onboards a consumer, they ask you everything, right? They ask you about where you live. They ask you about they check your credit if you want to have a postpaid phone. All those knowledge is then stored and later used to make proper offers for you. Once you onboard a phone with us, we know everything about the phone, and later we don't have to ask you questions about what model do you have or what memory do you have, which helps us to automate any moments where we can help the consumer. And this is what we do for living. In the end, we provide software. It comes either as an app or web page, or supports the retail or care frontline. And that's how we bring our services to the consumer through the operators.
Okay, and when you say operators, you're referring to cell phone providers or carriers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I talk about wireless cell phone providers.
Yeah, like Verizon and so on. I get it. Okay. But inherently, there are advantages to the consumer through your platform as well, which I understand. Before we talk about your data and what you've found, why should we get rid of aging devices? I mean, what's the holdup here, do you think?
I think in the end, 70% of consumers got more money for their old phone than what they were expecting. And consumers are just missing out on saving between $5 and $15 per month on their phone bills. Because if you bring in your old device, and it's usually worth more than consumers think, and that helps you to reduce your monthly bill, which is good for consumers.
Yeah.
And think about all the devices which become more and more expensive because we try to put in more and more tech into those devices. This makes those higher technology more affordable. But there's two other reasons. There is for the environment. For every 1 million reused devices, you can actually avoid 48K metric tons of CO2 footprint. That's a good thing for the environment, and sustainability will become more and more important. And last but not least, for an operator, it's also good because we call that circular economy benefit.
Yeah.
So in simple terms, they use their best used phones as replacement phones for either an insurance claim or an enterprise business.
All right. So are you most interested in consumers recycling their phones properly so that it doesn't become electronic waste, or repurposing it or trading it in and giving that phone a second life somewhere else?
I think the biggest interest for operators is that consumers trade in their phone, because for operators it's always a good deal, right? Consumers are more loyal when they're trading their phone because their monthly bill is lower. And it doesn't really matter whether you recycle the phone or not. Not every phone is as good as it can be reused. Right? But some of the phones, you can sell parts or reuse some of the parts. And it's also good for the environment if the phone is properly recycled.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. And it's funny, people seem to hold on to these aging devices like an iPhone 6 or, an old Android phone. They think they're going to go back to it, as a backup, and they never do. Like it just sits in a drawer, right? It's funny, this like sort of human behavior side of it.
No, absolutely. When you think about it, there is 550 million devices which collect dust in drawers in the US.
Wow.
Every traded in phone last year was worth actually $140 on average.
That's a lot. That's great.
We are talking about more than $50 billion. Right? And last year, only $3 billion worth of devices were trading in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Robert. We are chatting with Dr. Robert Hackl, who is the president of MCE Systems, about used smartphones. I think a lot of people are concerned, though, that if they trade in their phone, that someone can access their information on their old phone. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
First of all, it's super important, right, to recognize that consumers, when they trade in their phone, it's not about the trade-in, right? They actually want to upgrade or they want to replace a phone. You trade in the phone and you use MCE, we can actually certify that everything is wiped. And that's super important for consumer. And besides that, what consumers want is actually really interesting, right? They also want help with content transfer. You could argue that, of course, manufacturers like Apple or Samsung, they give you all the tools, but with the proper support, you can make that quicker. And you can make sure that even from an Apple to a Samsung and the other way around, everything is properly transferred. And last but not least, consumers also want to make sure that they get a fair price.
And you've already talked to us about the kind of money you could expect from an aging phone that I think a lot of listeners would be surprised at getting. You mentioned that this MCE trade-in process is pretty streamlined. Can you walk us through how to do it? I mean, as a consumer listening, they wouldn't probably interface with MCE directly, right? It would be through an operator like a carrier or provider. Yeah,
it's actually quite simple. You are using your carrier's app. You just diagnose the condition of your phone. So both the functional condition and the cosmetic condition.
All right. And then as we wrap up, Robert, what's the best website to learn more about MCE Systems?
MCE.systems.
Right, not .com, just MCE.systems. Robert, thank you so much for carving out some time to chat.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure, Mark.
When we return, some summer tech gadget ideas. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Check It Out whenever you want.
So as I mentioned earlier in the show, I had a lot of fun on TV last week talking about some summer tech ideas, including a high-tech barbecue, a grill. And I'll explain what that means in a moment, but it's got voice support with smart speakers and Wi-Fi and all that. But I thought I'd share with you some of these ideas if you're itching to pick up some games or gadgets this summer. I'll start off with a pair of awesome games from PlayStation Studios. One is Horizon Forbidden West. This is an epic journey across a lush post post-apocalyptic open world. And then for sports fans, MLB The Show 22 is now available. It, of course, lets you play as or against your favorite MLB team, and it offers a variety of modes compared to years past. You can play by yourself against the smarter AI this year. You can play with somebody beside you on the same TV or over the internet, of course. There's a GM mode if you like to get your hands in there as a manager and decide on trades and all that. Prices do start at $59 for that. Speaking of games, if you're more of a computer gamer, you know how important storage is, and fast storage at that. The WD Black SN770 NVMe drive, this is a solid state drive, is super fast. It takes advantage of that newer NVMe connection instead of SATA. So you just snap it inside of your laptop or desktop, and you've got up to 2 terabytes of storage. But again, the real story here is the speed. You've got really fast boot times, load up times for your games, and when you're playing them, it is much faster than a hard drive. So that's the WD Black SN770. It's one of those SSDs or solid state drives. And speaking of storage, another idea, as low as $11, by the way, so certainly not breaking the bank, the SanDisk Ultra Dual Drive Lux USB drive. So that's LUXE. This is one of those tiny little, pinky sized thumb drives, but on one side it's USB-A for those older ports on, say, a laptop or the side of your TV, and the other end is USB-C, which is the newer connection type, smaller, works with Windows and Macs as well. And so up to 1 terabyte of storage, and it's really great for transferring big files quickly, photos and videos between devices. That's the SanDisk Ultra Dual Drive Lux USB. All right, some other affordable ideas for summer tech. If you're in the market for a new TV for all these awesome streaming services out there, the ON QLED 4K Roku TV is a gorgeous 65-inch TV for only $568. And I think ON, which is ONN dot, as it's stylized, is a Walmart exclusive. So this is a huge and gorgeous and smart TV. It does have Roku built in, but the Q in QLED, of course, stands for quantum dot technology, so much richer colors. It also has Dolby Vision support for better contrast and brightness, Dolby Atmos for clearer audio, better audio technology. And again, it's a Roku TV, so you've got access to over 250,000 TV show episodes and movies across hundreds of services. You just sign in with your account. It could be those paid ones like Netflix and Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus and all that, or free ones like Roku Channel or YouTube. It includes a voice remote, and you can use the Roku app to control the TV if you prefer. I mentioned high-tech grills earlier. The Traeger Timberline wood pellet grill is awesome. I mentioned this briefly last weekend, but this is a new family of grills that are much larger, up to 1,320 square inches of cooking space on the XL version. But even the regular Timberline is much bigger with a side element, which I love. So you can now fry and saute outside of the grill. But these are barbecues, they're smokers. You can bake, broil on these things, and they take wood pellets instead of, say, propane, and it really changes the game. The flavor is amazing. I personally like the hickory and cherry mix, but awesome. And then the geek in me loves the Wi-Fi technology, so you can get push notifications to your phone or your smartwatch when it's time to, say, flip your meat. There's all kinds of sensors and meat thermometers included. Plus, you can use your voice with a smart speaker to control it, like, say, turn on the grill at 500 degrees or something like that. Awesome. $34.99 to start for the Traeger Timberline wood pellet grill. And then finally, for whatever you're buying this summer, make sure you go to slickdeals.net. It's all about shoppers, helping shoppers find the best prices on the best products. So whether you use the website, the app, the browser extension, which will automatically apply coupons and tell you where it may be cheaper when you're checking out somewhere. There's also a cashback rewards program. So you shop where you normally would shop, but you're going to get cash back in your pocket. Slickdeals.net is a community of 12 million members, and it's completely free to use. The best deals get voted on and vetted and goes up to the front page perhaps, and you can see these amazing deals. Or you can sign up for deal alerts. If you have your eye on something, but you don't want to pay what they're asking for, you could say, hey, I want that TV at X price, and then it'll push a notification to your inbox when it meets that criteria. So that's slickdeals.net. As you can see, no shortage of great gadgets and games, and a website to save you some money as well ahead of the summer season. Hey, thank you for tuning in to Tech It Out, everyone. Once again, I hope you're enjoying yourself on this Independence Day long weekend. Stay safe out there. A huge thank you to ASUS, the title sponsor on this program. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio to check out their gear. All right, signing off for another episode of Tech It Out. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. All the best, everyone. We'll catch up with you next weekend for another episode. Bye-bye for now.